It's good to catch up with you on this platform.
Hi, Milind. Sim here.
And I hope everything is safe and sound back home, and you and your family and near and dear ones are all staying safe in this unforeseen and unfortunate circumstances of COVID.
Yes, but not the city where I live, which is Bangalore. And Bangalore is quite turbulent and it's very, very challenging. And we're trying to see how companies can help in the situation, the general public and the government. At home, we are okay.
I know, and this this kind of pandemic and this situation reminds me of Talib's Black Swan book and the comment thereof, right? That we feel everything is going hunky dory, and suddenly comes uh, a slice and a cut in the way your life gets disrupted, and what seemed very physical and connected with humans as a touch suddenly becomes very digitally transformed. You get locked down to a 5,000 square foot of a house or a bungalow, and suddenly your brands are scampering to talk to people, connect with people, and so on and so forth. So how are you managing this as a brand in a very unfortunate circumstances of a pandemic? How are you really managing the consumer experience of being connected with them?
I think the most important thing we decided way back in April of 2020 was to remain calm and composed, because this was a crisis way beyond our ability to actually influence. And
True
there was
that.
no point in getting worked up about it. And the other is that because we are a company with deep, direct relationships with our customers, because we have more than 15,000 sales staff in our stores who personally know
Huge.
millions of customers.
15,000 people.
Yeah, we have about 1,800 and plus stores, from Fast Track to Titan to
All
Titan
brands put together.
Plus, yeah, to Tanishq to Helios to Tanera, and we reached out to hundreds of thousands of people at that time in what we defined as empathy calling, just to ask after their welfare, because it was certainly at that time not at all a time to talk business.
Sure.
And they started with that, and so much has happened since, I would think. But calm and composed, and on the one hand, very confident that because of our overall competitive advantage, that we will emerge stronger earliest compared to other companies, other industries, other business brands, and also a lot of empathy about the world around us, and not just focused on business.
Yeah, true. I think that's a very deep insight. Normally people tend to get very panicky in case of challenges and problems thrown at them. Overall sereneness and calmness does calm down the tempers and hold people a lot of comfort. This also reminds me of a point that more often we use this sentence as a part of working with each other as humans, which is people don't remember people, but people always remember how the other person made him or her feel during the interaction, right? It is that feeling that carries along in a long way, right? In this situation where you as a brand are not able to do a physical face-to-face connect, how are you managing this scenario that the consumer experiences is still a very strong wow, and is carrying as a lingering effect on his mind long after he has dealt with you as a brand?
Actually, what happened, Milind, was because we put in substantial focus on the safety of shopping in the store.
Okay.
And if I share with you later images of our staff wear not just masks, but those thick shields, plastic shields.
Oh, the one that covers the whole face.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. What you wear when you travel in an
Airline,
plane,
airline.
but a much thicker one. Our staff started wearing it way back in June of 20, if I remember right. And because in our categories, and particularly in jewelry, even in eyewear, uh, there is only so much of online omni that is actually possible because
Sure.
of the nature of category, ticket sizes, and all that. So we needed to create a safe environment for physical shopping as well. So we did that, and that became quite a well-known thing among all our customers, to the extent that in quarter 4 of last year, that is Jan, Feb, March period, we actually ended up getting more customers than quarter 4 of FY20 physically.
Yeah.
So our recovery in quarter 4 of FY21 in customer numbers was higher than FY20 because of this safety focus. So therefore, this thing of not being in touch with them physically was actually not an issue with us as early as March of 21. But it's in the second fortnight of April 21 when COVID-2 again hit, and we have shut stores all over the country in any case, that became a challenge again and went back 1 year back. But in the meantime, many things we did. For example, the whole video calling, was lifted to another level, I would say. And we were starting to do more than 100 crores of sales through video as early as July of 20 in Tanishq.
And sorry, if I may just dig a skin deep in this, which is when you say video calling means, as I'm a domain guy, so I understand what you do, but for a larger team, it will be good to just understand when you say video calling, if you can tell briefly, how the consumer journey was.
So what we did was, like I said, we have got 15,000 plus sales staff.
Yes.
And maybe we have close to 20 million customers in our loyalty database. Okay. In that 20 million customers, many millions, I wouldn't know the exact number, but many millions would be personally known to these 15,000 plus sales staff. So if I were to take the Tanishq situation, for instance, we would have maybe 7,000, 8,000 sales staff out of the 15,000 working in Tanishq. And these 8,000 may know, so let's say a couple of million customers personally. So they would call those customers, let's say Mrs. Agarwal. Avantika is the salesperson. Avantika would call Mrs. Agarwal and say, Mrs. Agarwal, we have launched this particular collection, Aramb, for example, and I would like to showcase Aramb to you through a video call.
Sure.
And Mrs. Agarwal would give a time, let's say 7 p.m. on a particular day. And we started setting up a video call sort of console in every store. And with changing lighting for diamond jewelry and gold jewelry, because white light versus yellow light, which showcases. Yeah. So now Avantika would decide, because Avantika knows the taste of Mrs. Agarwal, she would choose, let's say, 10 necklaces or pendants or whatever that she thinks Mrs. Agarwal would like, and she would actually show them on the camera live to Mrs. Agarwal and help.
Something like, okay, this is something like this is a jewelry, visually.
Yeah, and wear it.
Oh, interesting.
And Mrs. Agarwal would end up shortlisting, let's say, 2 pendants out of the 10, or even 1, and come 3-4 days later to the store, spend only 10 minutes. Otherwise, she may have spent 1.5 hours. She would just spend 10 minutes because the shortlisting has been done. And she just needs to make sure that she's not buying something that she would regret later. And that's the larger purpose of coming to the store, nothing else. So the touch time in the store would be only 10 minutes to look at the piece, make the payment, and take it. So we would have crunched a 1.5 hour visit to a 10-minute visit. So 90% of this, let's say 100 crore a month, was happening with a last mile being done in a very short time. 10% of it was happening as, online only.
Online.
After the video call, the sale would also be completed online, and therefore
you just deliver it to their home.
No visit also.
Sure.
So through this, because there was a lot of worry about spending too much time in any public place, right? The minute we reduced that, and on top of that, we also created this very safe environment in the store with, when you came in, you put your feet into some kind of outside the door, some kind of a solution, which was an anti-COVID solution.
I remember.
So you crossed the store into the store, and then oximeter was there, temperature was there, and everybody was wearing a shield, and then you spent only 10 minutes. So this is an example of and 100 crores a month is a lot of sale.
That's, I think, a fantastic initiative, and I think some of these perhaps are going to be lifelong initiatives, because I think just the life has changed, right? Though I do believe, and I have heard you say sometimes this, that you can't compare a fine dining eating experiences at a home delivery through some online food platform. You can't compare that. I've heard you say that often in your comments and talks with the people. And I so agree with you, right? That the sense of physicality of an interaction is very different as compared to an online. But we are all business people, so hard number of 100 crores is always very, very enticing on this front. I think that's a great one. Now, how did you kind of, and you made a valid point that you have 15,000 salespeople and whatever 20 odd million customers. Some of your products are also high value products, right? The jewelry is obviously high ticket size, high average water product. Tanera Sari also, I'm assume, is a high value product, right? Did you try to do online or digital business development in any which way? How did you try and up the sales in a form? Because only advertising can bring that much eyeballs to you. But did you make any efforts to try and reach out to the consumers proactively? Specifically in a case where an Avantika did not know Mrs. Agarwal, because that segment is maybe just 10-15% of your 20 million, but a larger base is perhaps unknown to a lot of people. So did you do any initiative around that?
See, one of the biggest things we realized, and I keep thinking that Titan Company may be very unique in that today across the industries, which is that, like I said, we have a close to 20 million loyalty program membership.
Sure.
And we had invested substantially in digital about 6 years back in CRM, in analytics and all that. And we also have this relationships that I spoke of, where the Avantika knowing Mrs. Agarwal. So what we ended up realizing during 2020 was the power of this phygital, which is, on the one hand, we have the point of sale data of these 20 million people in terms of when they bought, what they bought. So is the person an Akshaya Tritiya consumer? Is she a Raksha Bandhan buyer? Is she more tending to buy during discount activation schemes and all that? So the entire POS data for each brand was available with us over the years.
Sure.
The second is we have taken a lot of trouble in collecting information about birthdays, anniversaries, music that she likes, books she reads, and stuff like that.
Interesting.
Now, which means that we know the buying habit of a person. We know the kind of watches or jewelry that she likes. We know important events in her life, including milestone birthdays, milestone anniversaries.
Sure.
We know, for instance, that the substantial purchase of our products comes around the 1st, 10th, 25th anniversaries, and not 2nd, 3rd, 4th. And perhaps when you think about it, it's for obvious reasons. You know, the 1st anniversary is a very important anniversary, and thereafter you sort of getting used to being married. But 10th is a big one, 25th is a much bigger one.
Sometimes the feeling is, okay, I survived 10 years or I survived 25 years and so on and so forth.
I mean, those are points of view, but I'm just saying generally it's something to celebrate, right? 10th is something to celebrate as opposed to a 9th. And
sure.
Hot data told us that the peaks are appearing at 1, 10, 25 and all that, which means that when I know that it is Milind's anniversary, but it is also Milind's, let's say 10th or 15th or 25th. And also if I know Milind's phone number or email ID, and Milind's wife is the customer of Tanishq, then I got a double advantage sitting, because I can send a mail to Milind saying, look, I'm assuming your wife's name is Rekha for a minute. Milind, Rekha's, your anniversary is 1 month away, 15th it is, and Rekha would be, and we know that Rekha loves diamond jewelry of this type, modern, and maybe, you can do this. And in one of our brands, which is Carrot Lane, where we also have a program called Try at Home. Try at Home, where we take the products home.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
As opposed to a video call, we take the 10 pendants home at an appointed time. So, which means that we can actually, Milind can place an order with Carrot Lane for maybe the morning of the anniversary, where, the 10 pendants that Milind thinks Rekha, will like are brought home, and as a surprise, and then, you complete the transaction on the morning of the anniversary, right? Now, obviously, these are not every one of what I'm saying has been taken to its maturity, but certainly taken to the experimentation and waiting for its maturity down the road. Because these are all ideas which started accelerating in different ways during the COVID time. Therefore, the digital part of it, which is customer knowledge, and the physical part of it, which is the relationship, which means that if Avantika knows that Milind's 15th anniversary is 1 month away and Milind's wife likes these kind of products, then she's got the ammunition to reach out to Rekha or Mrs. Agarwal or whoever, and in a way use this information to great advantage. So the phygital aspect of it was an explosive thing that, and in all those cases where there were no relationships, and there are, let's say, millions where personal relationships are not either there or not that powerful, the company still had the digital knowledge to send, for example, a video film of a Arambh product collection to Rekha saying that, look, Rekha, we know you like this kind of products. Your anniversary is 1 month away. Why don't you treat yourself to an RM product? So that also, we have a reasonably high share of conversion rate when we do targeted birthday anniversary communication with a discount which sort of helps in pushing the person to buy the product.
Very, very interesting. The user journey is always very it's as they always call it, is always the tip of the iceberg, right? You see the user journey because it's the most visible part of your consumer interaction, but underneath that, the top, there is a huge set of processes, internal digital transformation, supply chain management, digital infrastructure, calling infrastructures, communication layers, invoicing, billing, courier, transport, so many of them, logistics, so many of them. How did you manage this change? And I'm sure all these are lifelong lasting for any brand whatsoever, because it is not that one time you want Avantika to give a great experience to Mrs. Agarwal. You want that to be a repeatable experiences, and that's where a brand salience would perhaps be built in a digital world. So how did you manage this whole transformation process underneath the surface within?
Fortunately, our digital journey started many years back. So even, for example, if I were to take the entire CRM platform, that CRM platform has been under installation and use for nearly 3 years now. So people, all these 15,000 people are typically used to the CRM platform, including, for example, when, let's say, Mrs. Agarwal, I'm talking now about 2019, when the world was a very different place. So let's say Mrs. Agarwal walks in to any Titan brand store, and then the salesperson does not know Mrs. Agarwal, let us say. And can I have your mobile number, please? And she gives the mobile number, and she keys the mobile number into the CRM.
Everything
and
comes.
We have a certain sort of prioritized sequence of the information that we do not know about Mrs. Agarwal popping up. Maybe we don't know about her birthday, we don't know her anniversary, or we don't know, something else about her. So in sort of small
incremental data.
Because instead of swamping her with a lot of it at that moment, 2-3 things, highest priority things. So, madam, can I have your birthday? We don't appear to have it on our database. And she keys it in, anniversary keys it in. Or we've also been into the apps for different brands, including the Encircle, which is a loyalty program app. So we send notifications, even the Carrot Lane app. So we send notifications on the app to the customers and say, look, if you key in whatever 2-3 things that we don't know about, you will get 500 points as a reward for keying in, stuff like that. So we were getting all the stuff in the system used to a digital immersion over time. So this was fortunately happening from 2018 or even earlier. So in a way, they were all digital friendly. And they sort of, and since a lot of them are also young people in the stores, they don't have the typical, barriers that maybe a 50 plus or a 60 plus certainly has for things digital. So they dove into it, sort of embraced it when it was the thing to do. So, for example, we have a program called a Kaizen Mela, and to get the store staff think about their local problems and come up with solutions. So we created a national digital Kaizen Mela competition starting August of 20 and concluded it in early October. And about 10,000 people participated in it. And stores
Huge.
from smallest of towns, towns like Buxar, they came all the way up to the finals. And even the vocabulary of a small town, and the presentation was in Hindi. From that staff, it was an I plus store in Buxar, but they used the word phygital in Hindi, meaning when they were speaking in Hindi, they used the word phygital and they spoke about the phygital catalog that they had created and so on. So the vocabulary and the institutionalization of digital, uh, fortunately, because of our starting the journey in 2016 or 17, was reasonably deep by the time COVID hit and sort of helped us accelerate it right till the top.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm also conscious of the time, so I'm going to encourage people who are viewing this to send questions in the chat to either us on your question and answer session, or you could write to us at the host, and I'll be happy to ask Venkat the questions that you have. Continuing forward, Venkat, uh, are we at an opportune time to say that digital infrastructure as an organization is now my competitive advantage? Are we entering into an era where a company can go and say that, you know what, I am digitally transformed and that's my competitive advantage over a competing brand? I mean, I know it's not perhaps and to just elaborate my question, I'm just giving, say, for example, between your own category, right? One jewelry brand versus another competing jewelry brand, or one Titan versus a competing brand in your space. Can you now go and say that, listen, I am digitally evolved and that's my competitive advantage, and which has a 3, 4, 5 year leap over my competition? Have we reached that state? And that has been hastened because of this pandemic.
Very much, Milind. I think the sharp realization about the power of that competitive advantage has come because of the leapfrogging that has happened. But equally, I mean, I would talk about three parts. One is the digital transformation, which is digital and transformation. And in a way, I ended up realized, I mean, there was a talk by one of the digital gurus a little more than a year back at one of our conferences. And he said that transformation has to happen. I mean, the transformation is more important than digital. And what he meant was
I completely agree.
the investment in digital technologies and tools and all that is what he called digital. And what he defined as transformation was the ability, the willingness, the familiarity of the organization and the people in the organization to actually use it comfortably. That without that transformation, that digital was in a way pointless was his point. And we realized that because we had been at it for a while, the transformation had in a way by and large happened. And everyone was ready, willing, excited, and they grabbed it. So therefore, both the crores and crores of investment we made way back in 16 or 17, in fact, 100 plus crores, and the work that we were doing with people, thousands of people over the years, was
Yeah,
the digital and the transformation part of it.
sure.
But one other very powerful thing, which of course we knew, but it came really alive, is the fizzy part of it, which is the relationships that our 15,000 people and the franchisees of our 1,800 plus stores had with our customers. Because I cannot imagine a video calling that I described happening as a cold call when you don't know the person at the other end.
Or an avatar
It
doing
is,
that video call.
oh yeah, it is impossible. Because Avantika know Mrs. Agarwal, she could call her and say, can I set up a video call for you? If Avantika did not know Mrs. Agarwal, no way Mrs. Agarwal would have agreed for a video call, because you can just imagine there are people, all kinds of people calling us all the time now, right? Therefore,
Sure.
the relationship that we have worked on for close to 20 years in each one of our brands, that is another competitive advantage, which of course we knew. But we realized very sharply that, like, there are other company products that I buy, which are 100,000 plus and so on and so forth. There are no relationships that those companies have with me. They don't know my milestone birthdays. For example, I completed 60 4 months back. No company from whom I had bought, for example, Apple MacBooks, so many of them for me and my family, none of them contacted me when I was 60 because they simply didn't know that I was 60. And there was no salesperson in that company who knew Venkataraman by name because of whatever processes and everything that they don't have. Whereas a Tanishq or a Titan or an iPlus would have known. They in fact knew that me as a customer who completed 60, even though they didn't know who I was within the company, I was a random person. So that physical relationship power also came alive. And therefore, digital transformation, relationships, these three things have together become a huge competitive advantage for all brands of Titan.
I think that's so nicely put. Venkat, I can't be tongue in cheek while you said that. Every time you said 60, I heard the word 16. And I really pray and wish in the COVID times, you always have the life and the heart of a 16-year-old as it goes along. You are so digitally transformed. So every time, seriously, every time you said 60 in the speaker, I heard 16. I said,
that was not intentional, but it was just that I was feeling, how can these companies from whom I've bought very expensive products over time, they don't know my birthday, right?
I know. I have one interesting question around here, and I'll just verbatim read it for you. Do you think the pandemic-infused digital transformation has negatively affected consumer experiences anyway? Or was the traditional way better? You want me to repeat?
No.
Okay.
Despite all this conversation for the last 30 minutes, more than 90% of our sales in the last 12 months has come physical. It does not come from digital, right?
Sure.
Even assisted omni is part of that less than 10%. So
Sure.
90% of the people have come because our categories are like that. And apart from the touch and feel and all that, I'm sure all of us realize, when we complete that, not just complete, the joy of picking up even shirts, not just watches and going outside the category. That joy is not is there in the digital experience. And when you carry that bag and walk out of the store, there is a certain feeling of rewarding and all that kind of thing. Which, when you receive it in your hand, from a courier, it's not the same, right?
Different.
Therefore, I do feel that while these things will evolve in categories where the joy of shopping is integral to shopping, integral to buying, when we go back to a better world, it'll come back. But at the same time, the world was what it was, and people had to cope, people had to buy sitting at home. And we strived hard to deliver a very good experience through our call centers, through our bots, through our video calls, through our, pick and deliver in our stores and all that. Like bot online pick in store, what we call BOPIS.
Curb pickup, as what they call it in US.
Yeah. So we tried to do that, and we also measure our net promoter scores in all our contact points. And our sense is that we have done reasonably well. Obviously, in some of the new ways of shopping, we need to improve our overall experience. Yes, but we feel pretty good about what we have achieved.
I also personally think it's horses for courses. I mean, the purist, if you're seeing my bookshelf behind, would say, listen, he's the guy causing the woods to be cut in this world, right? But I would personally prefer my book still read, smelled on the old paper that would come across rather than a digital gadget, right? So I think it's choices across all.
Correct.
I think
I have this ongoing argument with, I have two daughters, and all three of them are into Kindle, whereas I only buy books. Even though I had a Kindle which I've given it to one of them, I love this, like you said, the smell and they're trying to mimic all that on the Kindle.
Yeah, they're trying to replicate.
That's okay, and I'm not even arguing.
Yeah,
I'm not saying I prefer this.
Yeah,
That's all, you know.
yeah.
That's the
Perfect. I think our moderator just extended our time for a couple of minutes. Uh, I would want you to, if you could just future gaze for us. So far, this is where we have come. If I have to make you future gaze 5 years hence, what do you think would be the defining moments of this digital environment? Do you see this 10% consumptions pure online going to 60, 70%? Or do you see, how do you see the world 5 years hence from this digital transformation perspective? And especially linked to the consumer experiences, right? What should the consumer expect from A, Titan as a brand, and B, generally as an industry?
especially in the kind of products that we make, I think the store has got a very, very big role to play. Okay. And we have not gone to shops in the last 1 year because it has not been safe to go. Not because we suddenly realized that the digital experience is as good or better than going to the store.
Correct.
And therefore, since 5 years is quite a long way off, and I'm sure all of us would be vaccinated and the virus should be totally behind us, out of our life, etc. I would imagine a very, very enhanced store experience. In fact, we were, you know, um, working on a very immersive digital experience in our stores before the pandemic hit us. And I mean, let me just give you an idea of what I have in mind. We have recently launched a product called Track, which is a sports watch.
Yes, a smart
And
sports.
yeah, right. And I am a big user of that myself because I'm into running and cycling. Now, how would I like to sell Track in a store or like to sell a track? If you come into the world of Titan, I would like to have a very good quality bicycle set up inside the world of Titan in a small bubble, okay, where somebody who's a cyclist or wants to even get into cycling can actually get on that cycle inside that bubble, wear a track, and start cycling.
And cycling.
And the physical experience of that and actually understand how a track works, maybe even set up, uh, um, uh, sorry, the word is not coming.
Experience.
What are those things on which you run? Yeah, the word is suddenly missing.
The tracks, the running tracks.
The running tracks. Like instead of running on the road, I run inside the world of Titan, and actually the track is telling me my heart rate.
The treadmill, you mean? The treadmill.
Treadmill, yeah, sorry. For a moment, the word, I couldn't get the word. So you have a treadmill inside the store, and you're actually learning how a track works in terms of its pace, in terms of the HRM, and so on and so forth on a treadmill, right? Now, for the technologies online to replicate this kind of an experience, it may happen, still happen, but would I like to actually sweat and actually feel it when like what is the power of the sweating to deciding on the track versus simply sitting in a chair, browsing on the phone? As a runner, for me, the power of that sweating before I decide to buy that track has got some magic with no amount of browsing on my phone can replicate. Therefore, bringing digital into the store is the 5 year out, or not even 5 year, is the 2 year out dream for me to make the store an immersive digital experience. For example, if I can take one more minute, we have a product called Maritime. Okay. Now, that Maritime is actually inspired from maritime artifacts of all kinds, from a ship to actually from a ship and the sea and all that, right? Now, if I have a make-believe kind of experience inside a store where every 10 minutes or every hour, the store automatically goes semi-dark, like a movie theater. And there is a huge video wall on which the Maritime film plays. And it's all about, it's like an advertising film for Maritime. It's 2 minutes of an immersive film. and we have a floor which is like in these Disney worlds and all that, no, where
Yeah,
you
I know
sit.
what you mean. I know.
It
Yeah.
sort of makes you
The
feel
ship,
that you are,
the
yeah,
three-dimensional look and feel. Yeah.
yeah. So you are actually almost on that ship. When that
True.
film plays, all of us feel, and let's say taking into account safety, because there may be a 65, 70-year-old person who may get a little worried if this floor starts or feeling to shake. I mean, saying, taking all that into consideration, we create an experience where in that 1.5 minutes, I actually feel that I'm on that ship, and the film closes off saying maritime.
Yeah.
Right?
This would
Now,
carry your brand for a long time with
yeah,
the.
yeah. And then there is a atomizer in the ceiling where the water is sort of sprayed in atomized form. So you actually feel that you're in the sea.
The drench of a sea
Yeah.
experience.
So that to me is the digitalization of the store, as opposed to just
I think we seem to be facing a net issue. I'm seeing Venkat is out, but I think it was a fantastic. We are back again, Venkat. Can you hear us?
sorry.
I think we are just also on
You can hear
time.
me?
We're just on time also, Venkat. Jivisha is like almost telling me, Milind, you're running late on 6-7 minutes over time. So if you don't mind, I would just like to thank you. And it's been fantastic talking to you. How I wish my complaint to Gaurav and Jivisha next time, please give me more time with Venkat so that I can really extract more insights from him. It's fantastic talking to him across. And guys, I hope you liked I hope you liked interacting with Venkat. And I look forward to this is unsatiable demand in the digital world from me to you, Venkat. We would always want to talk to you. So stay safe, stay healthy, stay 16 always in the digital world. And we look forward to interacting. And as my
Milind.
closing comment, I would want to say, it's a brand that I have always loved and be a timekeeper of change all your life as a brand. And I thank you with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Venkataraman and Mr. Pathak, for joining us today and sharing some key insights with us. We truly appreciate it. I would like to thank our cloud communication partner, Root Mobile, and our partners, Accenture, Automation Anywhere, and Tata Teleservices. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in 2 minutes with our next session. Thank you.